That's cool. How about you? As specialists in protection against DDoS attacks, how do you evaluate the evolution of DDoS attacks in recent years, even from last year to now?
Well, 2024 was a significant milestone in the DDoS segment, both globally and in Brazil. Brazil has been ranking among the top countries with the most attacks for several years now, with more targets and higher attack volume. But Brazilian attackers have become very sophisticated in their professionalism. We noticed that foreign companies and protection solutions have struggled to keep up with this wave of attacks happening in Brazil. There's a new type that became very popular in 2024, and as we're talking about what to learn from 2024 for 2025, this is a big lesson. What are the so-called HTTPS reflection attacks, the reflection of HTTPS, that most common market solutions can't handle this type of attack, leaving many attacking providers vulnerable? So when you turn to international suppliers where this type of attack is not so common, we realize that they had great difficulty in serving the Brazilian public. So we have this expectation that we will find better solutions abroad, more professional ones. But it's right here in Brazil that we have the birthplace of new protection technologies against DDoS attacks. We usually say at headquarters that a calm sea is not good, sailor. And in the anti-DDoS segment, it is in this turbulent sea. Turbulent sea of Brazil, where we're developing the main technologies for the world and for the Brazilian market. I had the opportunity to speak in 2024 in the United States to share a bit about the reality of the anti-DDoS segment in Brazil. I went to ITW in Washington and the audience was like this. It's not appropriate.
It's a fair focused a lot on data centers, right?
It's a telecom fair, specifically, so much so that there's something we don't usually see that much. In Brazil, there's a lot of voice segments. In some countries, fixed telephony and SMS had several little stands for SMS. It was even curious to see that, so ITW is the Internet Telecommunications Week, this acronym for the event ITW. So I was there to talk to operators from around the world, sharing my experience here in Brazil, and I was received with shock. When they visited the Sage booth, there were many people connected to the production chain. From the cybersecurity defense of the United States, many military personnel or many suppliers for the military. So in the American mindset, a DDoS attack is when one country goes to war with another. Let's have a chat about cyber warfare in today's conversation. But we noticed that the CIA was highly sought after in the United States for this segment. The guy is one of Boeing's suppliers, one of the Army's suppliers. He wanted to protect his network against DDoS attacks. And it's this kind of challenge that he faces. When I got on stage to talk about the Brazilian experience, what does Brazil have in terms of cyber warfare? If Brazil enjoys peace, we have a very good diplomatic relationship with other countries. When they understood that it was the Brazilian market, a company attacking another company, that's how I was received. The audience's reaction was very shocking. To give you an idea, even the lady at the event who was checking credentials, when you enter the event room, there's someone who checks the credentials. She pulled me off the stage and said, "Listen, there are entrepreneurs attacking entrepreneurs in Brazil." I said, yeah, in other words, even those who aren't in our field. The person who was there at the event, the organizer, was shocked by the information I shared in my presentation. So, Brazil has been this breeding ground, not just for many attacks. And as an action and reaction to Brazilian companies in the defense sector, which is what the headquarters does by protecting providers, and autonomous systems, we're at a much higher level than international suppliers of traditional market brands. We're doing well.
Besides them, man, can't they hold off this attack? Like, from what I understand, it's a new attack, right? It's a new attack protocol. Some were already prepared, but they can't. For example, man, help me out here. Some company needs to shut off this attack right now.
Even for Sage, when we identified this new type of attack, it's similar to antivirus software. It works. When it detects a new virus, it has to create a vaccine. When we first identified this attack as happening, it went to a committee. We have a bi-weekly committee with 2 meetings a week to discuss new vaccines. When we entered that first meeting, we saw the potential, the damage it could cause. We invested a lot in more hardware and an algorithm for the vaccine. The vaccine algorithm, I'm one of the co-authors. I was one of the ones who wrote the algorithm, a process to teach the hardware, mitigate this attack, identify and discard those malicious packets. But we made a heavy investment in equipment. And the interesting thing is, this type of attack, which is different from the traditional DDoS, it doesn't clog the link, it doesn't fill up the bandwidth. If you look at his graph, it fills up a little, but what does it do? It doesn't matter if it's a router, it could be MikroTik, Juniper, Huawei, Datacom. If that's what it locks up, the router, what a crazy thing, man. So it's a much more advanced attack than the